Heartbreaking update: your name was removed at the last moment. Open now. My beloved child, tonight the air itself feels heavy, as if every breath carries the echo of a decision that changed everything at the final second, and as I speak to you, I want you to feel the trembling silence that followed that moment when your name, the name that held hope, promise, destiny, was removed at the very last moment, not by accident, but by a truth that is only now beginning to reveal itself. I want you to picture that room, the table of polished wood, the papers neatly stacked, the quiet rustle of decisions being sealed, and somewhere among them, your future was written in bold letters, until a single hand paused, hesitated, and with a weight heavier than mountains, drew a line through your name. You were so close, closer than you ever realized. You stood at the doorway of something you had prayed for, worked for, dreamed about through restless nights and silent tears, and yet, at the very edge of the breakthrough, destiny took a turn so unexpected that it shook the hearts of those who witnessed it. This story is not just about loss, it is about the mysterious currents of fate moving beneath the surface, where unseen voices and hidden forces have been shaping a path for you that you were never meant to understand too early. Feel every second with me as we walk into that moment, the last-minute whisper, the decision that seemed cruel yet carried a deeper meaning, the stillness before the storm that would reveal who stood by you, and who did not. From the beginning, there were signs, subtle, fragile, almost invisible, that your journey was never meant to follow a straight line, and yet you trusted, you believed, you gave your heart to the promise written beside your name. They saw your strength, your resilience, the quiet fire inside you that refused to fade, and that is why your presence intimidated those who feared your rise. Behind curtains, behind closed doors, behind carefully practiced smiles, conversations unfolded, conversations where your worth was spoken of with admiration and threat. Someone in that very room knew how far you had come, how many storms you had survived, how many nights you kept going when others would have surrendered, and instead of celebrating your courage, they felt shaken by it. They knew that if your name remained there, if your path opened in that very moment, nothing, and no one, would be able to stop you. The last-minute removal was not weakness, it was fear. It was the fear of your greatness, the fear of your voice, the fear of the truth you carry within you. And yet, even in that heartbreak, the universe was not closing a door, it was redirecting you, placing you into a chapter where the truth would rise stronger than ever before. As they erased your name, the silence in that room spoke louder than any words ever could, for destiny does not erase without reason. Listen closely, because what happened afterward is where the real story begins, the whispers that followed, the glances exchanged between those who understood that removing your name did not remove your worth, your purpose, or your calling. Someone there felt the weight of that decision so deeply that it haunted them long after they walked away. They could not forget the look on the final document, the blank space where your name once lived, and the echo of what your presence could have changed. Hours passed, yet the memory of that moment lingered in their chest like an unanswered question. They realized that fate had not simply delayed something, it had awakened a revelation that was meant to surface in its own time. The truth is this: sometimes the greatest breakthroughs arrive not when your name is written down, but when it is taken away, because that removal exposes every hidden intention around you. It reveals who rejoiced in silence, who mourned for you in secret, and who wished to see you fall. And somewhere out there right now, someone is struggling with the guilt of knowing they stayed silent when your name disappeared, and that silence will not remain buried forever. As your path shifted, life began rearranging itself in ways you cannot yet see. Doors you thought were meant for you quietly faded, while unseen doors began unlocking in distant corners of your destiny. The pain you felt, that ache of being rejected at the final second, was not a punishment, but a transformation, shaping you into the person who would walk into something far greater than what was taken away. You were protected from an environment that did not deserve your presence, from a space that was never prepared to honor your value, from people who were never meant to walk beside you on the next stretch of your journey. The heartbreak carved depth into your spirit, it sharpened your vision, and gave your heart the power to see beyond illusions. That last-minute decision, that cruel twist of timing, did not mark your ending. It marked the beginning of a story where you rise not because your name was chosen, but because your spirit cannot be erased. And even now, the same people who thought they closed the door on you are beginning to realize that removing your name did not stop your destiny, it awakened it. Now, as you stand here listening, something inside you may already feel it, that quiet shift in the universe, that invisible turning of the tide, that sense that something bigger has been set into motion because of that final moment removal. The journey ahead will reveal truths you were never meant to discover earlier, truths about who stood beside you, who stepped away, who envied you, who loved you in silence, and who will eventually confess what really happened that day. What was taken from you was never lost. It was simply postponed so that when your time arrives, it will not be by chance or by the mercy of others, it will be because you were destined to stand where no one can ever remove your name again. And when that moment comes, when the world finally understands what was delayed, your story will not be remembered as one of heartbreak, but as the turning point where everything began to change in your favor, in a way so powerful, so unexpected, that even the ones who erased your name will have no choice but to witness your rise. In this quiet turning of destiny, a moment arrives where the truth begins to breathe, where hidden intentions slowly rise to the surface like shadows drifting into the light, and as the echoes of that last-minute decision continue to linger, the universe starts revealing what was never meant to remain buried forever. Those who watched your name being removed thought the story ended there, but what they did not realize is that every heartbeat after that moment carried a ripple across time, a ripple that reached the hearts of those who truly valued you, those who felt an ache they could not describe, those who understood that something precious had been taken away. The silence that followed was not emptiness, it was the gathering of energy, the gathering of untold stories, the gathering of a truth that was preparing to rise with a force no one expected. Somewhere, someone who witnessed everything has begun to question the decision, replaying that scene in their mind again and again, unable to escape the weight of what was done, and slowly, their conscience has started to speak louder than their fear. There was a moment later that night when one of them sat alone, the lights dim, the papers spread before them, and they traced their eyes over the blank space where your name once rested, and for the first time, they felt the magnitude of what had been taken away from you. They whispered your name under their breath, realizing that removing it did not erase your presence. Instead, it carved your story deeper into the memory of everyone in that room. Their heart wrestled with the truth. They knew that the choice was influenced by hidden insecurities, quiet envy, unspoken comparisons that no one dared to admit. You were not removed because you were unworthy, you were removed because your presence made others confront their own limits. The fear of your potential was greater than their courage to celebrate you. And now, regret has begun to grow like a restless storm inside the one who remained silent when your name disappeared, because some decisions do not fade, they echo through every waking thought until the truth finally demands to be spoken. And as the days quietly moved forward, life began weaving unexpected connections around you. People you never imagined would think about you suddenly started sensing your absence, noticing the space you once filled without even realizing how deeply your presence mattered. The world may not have announced the decision aloud, but energy travels beyond words, and those who truly care for you felt the shift in ways they could not explain. They felt that something important slipped away, something that should have been yours, something that destiny had placed in your path for a reason. That invisible bond between your spirit and your purpose did not break, it intensified. Where others saw rejection, the universe saw preparation. Where others believed your path was closed, a greater path was being carved in silence. And without anyone realizing it, the story that was meant to end has instead begun to gather momentum, waiting for the precise moment where truth will rise and every hidden intention will be revealed. Deep within your heart, a quiet strength has been awakening, the kind of strength born not from easy victories, but from moments where you stood at the edge of hope and still refused to fall apart. This experience has shaped you in ways others cannot see. It has refined your courage, deepened your wisdom, and given you the ability to recognize who stands beside you out of love and who stands near you out of convenience. The hurt you felt did not break you, it transformed you into someone who will step into the future with eyes wide open, no longer blinded by illusions, no longer unaware of silent rivalries, no longer unaware of hidden truths. The path ahead may feel mysterious, but the universe has already begun aligning new opportunities, opportunities where your name will not only be written but honored, where your presence will not be seen as a threat but as a gift, where your destiny will not rely on the approval of those who doubted you. And as this chapter continues to unfold, the story is far from over. For the same people who believed they could erase you from that moment will soon realize that destiny does not bend to fear or insecurity. The truth is moving closer, step by patient step, and soon the real reason behind that last moment decision will surface in a way no one will be able to deny. You were not removed to be replaced, you were removed because the place they tried to confine you to was never meant to contain your future. What awaits you is greater than what was taken, deeper than what was withheld, more powerful than the moment that hurt you. And as the coming revelations prepare to step into the light, one thing becomes clear: your story did not end when your name was erased, it began the moment they realized they could not erase your destiny. In the deep hush between what was taken from you and what is about to return in a greater form, a new layer of truth begins to reveal itself, slow and haunting, like footsteps echoing in a long corridor that leads back to the moment your name was removed at the last breath of decision. The world may have moved on as if nothing happened, but destiny did not. Somewhere behind the scenes, conversations have begun to crack open, and the people who once sat in silence are now feeling the sharp weight of consequence pressing against their conscience. They realize that a choice made in fear cannot silence a spirit built in endurance. The memory of that final moment has not faded, instead, it has grown louder, replaying again and again in the minds of those who were present, until their thoughts themselves tremble under the pressure of what they tried to bury. And in that growing unrest, something extraordinary is beginning to take shape, not in public, not in noise, but in the quiet, powerful realm where fate begins its real work. There is one among them who has reached a breaking point, the kind of breaking point where silence no longer feels like safety, but like a storm trapped inside the chest. They have been waking up at night with your name echoing in their heart, realizing that the decision made against you did more than remove you, it shifted the destiny of everyone involved. They remember the hesitation, the uneasy glances, the voice that insisted your name be taken away at the last moment, and now they finally understand what they were too afraid to admit back then, that your presence carried a light that exposed hidden weaknesses in others. You were not excluded because you were small, you were excluded because you made others aware of how small their intentions were compared to your purpose. And now the truth they once protected out of fear has started pushing forward with a force they can no longer suppress. Each day that passes tightens the knot in their heart, urging them closer to confession, closer to the moment where truth will be spoken aloud for the very first time. As destiny quietly shifts in your favor, the universe has begun weaving connections that did not exist before. Doors you never knocked on have begun unlocking from the inside, people you never reached out to are beginning to sense your story and feel drawn toward you without understanding why. The energy around your life has changed. Where once there was disappointment, there is now a silent gathering of opportunity, waiting for the right moment to appear. Those who thought they removed you from the path are slowly discovering that they only redirected you toward a greater horizon, one where your worth will not need validation, one where your presence will not be silenced by insecurity, one where your growth will not be restrained by those who fear your strength. The very moment that broke your heart has become the seed of transformation that even they cannot control anymore. And as their regret grows stronger, your destiny grows brighter, rising not in noise, but in purpose, in patience, in timing that belongs only to you. Inside your spirit, a quiet fire has begun to burn, not of anger, not of bitterness, but of awakening. You have begun to see beyond masks, beyond empty promises, beyond the surface of what people say and into the truth of what lies beneath their actions. This experience has reshaped you from within, refining your faith in yourself, deepening your trust in your journey, and teaching you that sometimes the universe removes you from a place not because you are unworthy of it, but because that place is unworthy of you. You are no longer walking blindly toward acceptance from others. You are walking consciously toward the future that is aligning itself with your true purpose. The strength you carry now is different. It is calmer, wiser, steadier, the strength of someone who has faced heartbreak without collapsing, who has stood at the edge of disappointment and still chosen to rise with dignity. And as this unfolding story moves closer to its turning point, something powerful is about to happen. The web of silence is beginning to tear, the truth is inching toward the light, and the very people who thought they had control over your fate are slowly losing their grip on the narrative they created. Soon, the reason behind that last-moment decision will no longer hide in whispers. Soon, the shadows surrounding that day will begin to dissolve, revealing who influenced it, who doubted you, who envied you, and who carried the guilt of watching your name disappear. What they believed would stop your journey has instead awakened a destiny that is far beyond their reach. And the story that began with heartbreak is moving toward a revelation so unexpected, so powerful, that when it arrives, the world will understand. Your name was never erased, it was being protected for a place where no one will ever dare to remove it again. In this turning silence, where destiny stands at the edge of revelation, the truth that has been circling your life begins to gather into a single powerful moment, the kind that makes hearts tremble and minds question everything they once believed. The memory of that final second decision still lives in the shadows of that room, yet now those shadows have begun to break apart. The people who once hid behind quiet glances and sealed lips are slowly realizing that the truth they buried cannot remain hidden any longer. Conversations once whispered in secrecy are resurfacing, not as rumors, but as confessions heavy with remorse and unspoken guilt. The echo of your name, the name they removed at the last moment, has returned to their thoughts with a force stronger than the silence they tried to wrap around it. And as their certainty crumbles, a realization begins to form, that removing you did not end your story, it merely exposed who was afraid of it. There is one person among them who can no longer escape the truth, the one who witnessed everything, who felt the hesitation in the air, who saw the fear in the eyes of those who demanded your name be erased. For days they tried to silence their conscience, but regret has grown louder inside them, pushing against every wall they built to contain it. They remember the exact second the decision shifted, the faint tremor in someone's voice, the quiet tension in the room, and now, piece by piece, they understand that what happened was never about fairness or judgment, it was about insecurity. Your strength, your potential, your silent resilience, it unsettled those who could not match it. And now this witness stands at a crossroads between fear and truth, knowing that the moment they speak, the entire story will change. They realize that destiny is no longer asking, it is demanding that the truth step forward, no matter the cost. As this inner battle unfolds behind the scenes, the universe has already begun rearranging the pieces of your journey in ways none of them expected. Opportunities are shifting, paths are realigning, and doors once closed are beginning to respond to your presence without you even knocking. What they believed was a removal has turned into a redirection that even they cannot undo. Those who doubted you are starting to see the resilience they underestimated, the calm endurance that refused to break, the silent growth that happened when no one was watching. And while their regret deepens, your destiny expands beyond the limits they tried to place upon it. You were never meant to remain confined within their approval, your journey was designed to outgrow the room where your name was taken away. Now, every step you take echoes with quiet strength, reminding the universe that a spirit like yours cannot be erased. Within you, a new confidence has emerged, not loud, not boastful, but steady and unshakable. You have learned to trust yourself in ways you never did before, to recognize your worth not through the validation of others but through the truth of your own resilience. The heartbreak that once weighed on your chest has transformed into clarity, allowing you to see the world, and the people in it, with deeper understanding. You now know who stood silent when your name disappeared, who felt your loss in their heart, who envied you, and who secretly admired your courage. This awareness has become your power. It has shaped you into someone who no longer begs for space, but creates it. Someone who no longer waits for acceptance, but walks forward knowing destiny will rise to meet you where you truly belong. And now, as the story edges closer to its greatest revelation, the tension around that final moment decision is tightening, and the truth is preparing to surface with a force no one will be able to deny. The silence that once protected hidden intentions is breaking apart, and soon the real reason behind your removal will stand exposed in the light, not as speculation, but as undeniable reality. What was once meant to weaken you has instead become the catalyst of your awakening. The very moment they believed would stop your journey has only fueled the rise they could never control. And as destiny gathers its final threads for what comes next, one thing becomes certain: the day is approaching when your name will not merely be written again, it will return with a power so profound that the world will understand it was never meant to be removed, only delayed for a place where it will shine beyond every shadow that once tried to hide it. In this final stretch of destiny, where every hidden thread begins to tighten into truth, the universe stands still for a moment, as if holding its breath before revealing what has been moving silently beneath the surface all along. The echoes of that night, the night when your name was removed at the very last second, have now transformed from whispers into undeniable reality. Those who once believed they had control over your fate are discovering that their decision did not erase you, it awakened something far greater than they ever anticipated. The guilt that has been growing in their hearts has reached a point where silence can no longer hold it captive. The truth has begun to knock at every door of their conscience, reminding them that destiny cannot be rewritten by fear, nor can greatness be concealed by insecurity. And as this revelation draws nearer, the world around you shifts, time itself seems to lean forward, waiting for the moment where everything finally comes to light. There is a conversation unfolding now, one that was never meant to exist, yet has become impossible to avoid. The one who carried the burden of knowing what truly happened has reached a point of no return, where speaking the truth no longer feels like betrayal, but like liberation. They can no longer escape the memory of that blank space where your name should have remained, nor the uneasy silence that followed when the decision was sealed. Their heart trembles as they prepare to reveal what was hidden, the quiet rivalry, the unspoken jealousy, the fear that your rising presence would overshadow those who lack the courage to grow alongside you. In their confession, a truth is revealed, that your name was not removed because you failed, but because your greatness was too powerful for an environment built on fragile egos. And as their words begin to surface, the story that once felt like heartbreak now transforms into clarity, exposing every unseen intention that shaped that final moment. Meanwhile, life has been preparing something extraordinary for you, something that existed far beyond the reach of those who tried to confine your destiny within the limits of their decisions. New paths have begun unfolding in silence, guided not by the opinions of others but by the strength you discovered within yourself. You have grown into someone who no longer seeks validation from the rooms that once rejected you, because you now understand that destiny does not operate under the authority of human insecurity. The rejection you faced has become your greatest turning point, shaping you into a soul capable of rising without noise, without anger, without bitterness, only purpose. And while they are just beginning to face the consequences of their actions, you are already walking toward a horizon where your worth is no longer questioned, where your presence is not seen as a threat, but as a blessing. Within your heart, a powerful realization has taken root, that what was taken from you did not belong to you anymore, because something far greater was always meant to replace it. You now see that losing your name in that moment was not an ending, but a divine redirection toward a future where no one will have the power to remove it again. The pain you carried has softened into wisdom, the tears you once shed have turned into strength, and the silence you endured has become the foundation of your unshakable resilience. You are no longer defined by what was withheld from you. You are defined by the courage with which you continued to move forward, even when the world tried to slow you down. And now, with every breath you take, destiny moves closer to fulfilling what was always meant to be yours. And soon, the world will witness what those in that room never expected, that the name they removed at the last moment will rise higher than ever before. What once felt like the deepest heartbreak will become the very moment they remember as the beginning of your ascension. The truth will emerge, the silence will break, and every hidden intention that shaped that decision will stand exposed beneath the light of time. Your story will not be remembered as one of loss, but as the journey of someone whose destiny could not be erased, whose spirit could not be silenced, and whose path grew stronger despite every attempt to delay it. And when your name finally returns, not in their hands, but in the place it was always meant to shine, it will carry a power so profound that nothing and no one will ever again dare to remove it from where destiny has written it forever.